The reckless bet. The night was alive with noise and shadows, the tavern shaking with the laughter of alien mercenaries. Glowing lights flickered across the metal walls, and smoke curled lazily from strange pipes. Ethan sat quietly at the edge of the long table, his hands wrapped around a mug of bitter drink. He was the only human in that place. Aliens of all shapes filled the room, tall reptilians with scales that shimmered like oil, insectoid traders with sharp mandibles clicking, and wolf-faced soldiers howling as they slammed their cups together. They all looked at the human like he was out of place, a fragile outsider among predators. Ethan had grown used to that look. He was a Terran explorer, a soldier who had crossed more borders than most of them could imagine. But tonight, the weight of alien stares pressed on him more than usual. He wanted to prove something. He wanted them to stop laughing at him. At the other side of the hall, a group of armored mercenaries began to talk about the old legends, their voices low and filled with fear. The Valorians, one of them whispered. The vampire clan of the stars, they drink the life of their enemies. They keep whole fleets in fear. Another alien spat on the ground and said, only a fool would go near them, even their daughters are poison. One kiss and your soul is gone. The others laughed harshly. Their teeth flashing, Ethan felt something stir inside him. Maybe it was the drink. Maybe it was the mockery in their voices, but he leaned forward, his voice steady. If I ever meet a Valorian princess, he said, I will kiss her, and I will live to tell the story. The entire tavern went silent for a moment, then exploded with laughter. Mugs slammed against tables, claws scraped on metal. The mercenaries pointed at the human as if he were insane. A kiss? With a vampire princess? One roared, Human, you will be nothing but blood in her cup. But Ethan did not smile. He met their glowing eyes with calm fire. It's a bet, he said simply. Mock me if you want. But remember my words, the laughter continued. But under it there was a flicker of respect. Humans were reckless, but this one carried his madness with pride. Hours later, when the tavern emptied, Ethan walked into the streets of the alien city. The moons glowed above like pale eyes, and the alleys twisted in endless directions. Shadows clung to the corners. The bet still echoed in his head, foolish, dangerous, impossible. Yet somehow it felt like destiny had already heard him. He turned a corner, and that was when he saw her. A figure stood beneath a broken lamp, the pale light spilling across her form, tall, elegant, dressed in dark silks that shimmered like liquid night. Her skin was ivory, her lips crimson, her eyes glowing red with a hunger that was not human. Ethan froze, his breath caught in his chest. Every story he had just heard came alive in her gaze. She was no ordinary alien. She was Valorian. Her presence alone carried a weight that bent the air around her. For a long moment neither spoke. The silence between them felt sharp like a blade. Then she tilted her head, a small smile touching her lips. A human, she said softly, her voice like silk and shadow. What are you doing in these streets? Ethan's heart pounded, the words of his bet echoing in his mind. This was madness, this was impossible. And yet here she was. He took a step closer, his voice steady even as fear clawed at him. I made a promise, when he said. A reckless bet, perhaps, but a bet nonetheless. Her red eyes narrowed. Curious. And what did you wager, human? Ethan drew in a deep breath, his words almost a whisper. That I would kiss a Valorian princess. The silence returned. Colder now. Heavier, the street seemed to vanish into nothingness, leaving only the human and the alien vampire staring at one another. For a moment her smile deepened, but it was not amusement, it was hunger. It was challenge, it was danger. Then kiss me, she said. Her voice daring, sharp like a fang. Ethan's body tensed. His mind screamed at him to turn and run, but he could not. Every step he had taken, every word he had spoken had brought him here. And now the universe was watching. Slowly he moved closer, the glow of her eyes burning brighter with each step. Her lips parted slightly, revealing the faint gleam of fangs. His hand trembled as he raised it, brushing against the silk of her sleeve, cold as ice. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. The shadows waiting, the stars silent. Ethan leaned in, his lips only inches from hers, and in that moment he felt the entire galaxy hold still. But deep within the dark alley, other eyes had begun to glow, shapes moving silently, unseen, watching, waiting. Ethan did not know yet that his reckless bet had awoken something far greater than pride, something that would change his life forever. And as his lips touched hers, the shadows stirred, the silence broke, and the story truly began. The forbidden kiss. The kiss was brief, but it was enough. The air around them turned heavy, as if the city itself had stopped breathing. Ethan felt the cold of her lips, the sharp edge of danger hiding behind that softness, and then he pulled back, his heart hammering like a war drum. The princess did not move, her glowing red eyes locked on his face. Her lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. "You are either the bravest fool in the galaxy," she whispered, "or the first human to seal his own fate with a kiss." Before Ethan could speak, the shadows around them shifted. More figures stepped into the light, tall, elegant, terrifying, their eyes glowing with the same crimson fire. Their presence carried a power that pressed against Ethan's chest like an invisible weight. One of them, older, her hair silver and her gaze burning with command, stepped forward, her voice low and cold. "You dare touch my daughter, human? Do you even understand what you have done?" Ethan froze, realization striking him like lightning. This was no ordinary woman. This was the matriarch of the Valorian clan, ruler of their bloodline feared across the stars. The very mention of her name made fleets tremble. The princess lowered her eyes slightly, almost like a child caught in defiance, but her smile remained. The matriarch's gaze turned to Ethan, sharp as a blade. "Among my people, a kiss is no game, it is a bond, a claim of blood. It means you have chosen to stand as mate." The words echoed like thunder in Ethan's mind. He had not just made a reckless bet, he had stepped into an ancient law, a law older than human space travel, a law that even death could not break. From behind the matriarch, 3 tall figures emerged, the princess's sisters, each more striking and dangerous than the last, one with eyes like fire, one with hair black as a raven's wing, and one with skin pale as moonlight. They moved like predators, circling Ethan. "So this is the human," one sister hissed, her fangs flashing as she smiled. "The one who thinks he can claim our bloodline with a kiss." Another leaned closer, her voice a whisper of ice. "The law is clear. Sister, he has chosen, and by our law he cannot belong to one. He belongs to all." The last one tilted her head, studying Ethan with a cruel kind of curiosity. "Unless, of course, he is too weak. Then we drain him dry, and the story ends tonight." Ethan's breath caught, the weight of their eyes pressing into him. He wanted to speak, to argue, but no words came. This was beyond him. This was no tavern bet anymore. This was survival. The princess stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. "He kissed me, and by law, he is mine." But her mother's voice cut like thunder. "No, child, by law, if he chooses one, he chooses us all. He must prove he is worthy of the Valorian name, or his life ends here." The sisters smiled, their fangs gleaming, their hunger mixing with excitement. The matriarch's voice rose again, filled with cold command. "Human, you wanted to prove your courage with a kiss. Now you will prove your strength with your life. Tomorrow you face the trials of the fierce mate. If you survive, you belong to us. If you fail, you die." The princess looked at Ethan, her smile trembling for the first time, her eyes caught between pride and fear. Ethan's chest tightened. The reckless bet had become a noose around his neck, yet deep inside a fire burned. The same fire that had made him speak in the tavern. The same fire that made humanity feared and respected across the stars. He met the matriarch's gaze, his voice steady. "Then I will face your trials. I will not run." The matriarch's lips curved into a cruel smile. "So be it, human. Tomorrow the galaxy will learn whether you are prey, or something more." As the vampires vanished back into the shadows, Ethan stood alone under the broken lamp, the echo of their words heavy in his chest. The night felt colder, darker, but his heart burned brighter. The reckless bet had become a war, and Ethan had just stepped into the center of a bloodline that could change the galaxy forever. The family's demand the night gave way to a cold dawn. The alien city still drowned in shadows. Ethan did not sleep. The memory of glowing crimson eyes haunted him, and the matriarch's voice still echoed in his head. "Tomorrow you face the trials, or you die." By morning, armed escorts came for him, tall armored figures with skin pale as stone and movement swift as blades. Their presence made the streets empty as they passed. Ethan walked between them, a lone human surrounded by predators who looked at him like he was already dead. They led him into the heart of the city, a place few outsiders had ever seen. Massive black spires rose like teeth of some ancient beast. Glowing runes carved into the walls pulsed faintly. The air itself carried the scent of iron and ash. Inside the great hall, the matriarch sat upon a throne carved from obsidian, her silver hair flowing like liquid moonlight. Her daughters stood beside her, their crimson eyes fixed on Ethan. The youngest, the princess he had kissed, remained quiet. Her lips pressed tight as if she carried a secret fear. The matriarch's voice filled the chamber, smooth and merciless. "Human, you brought this fate upon yourself. One kiss has bound you. Now you must prove your worth or fall as prey." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. His silence was a weapon, and it unsettled them more than words ever could. One of the sisters stepped forward, her smile sharp. "Let us test him, Mother. If he dares claim our bloodline, let him face our demands." The second sister's voice was colder. "Strength is not enough. He must endure what no human has endured. Or he breaks." The third sister leaned close, her voice soft but cruel. "If he fails, I want the first taste." The hall echoed with a dark laughter that chilled Ethan's bones. The matriarch raised her hand and silence fell. "So it shall be. The trials begin now. Each of you will test him, and if he survives, then he will face the blood arena. Only then will he be judged." The first sister's test was announced. A duel against one of their warriors. A creature bred for battle, its skin armored like steel, its claws dripping with venom. Ethan was given no weapon but a staff. The alien beast towered over him, snarling. The crowd roared as the fight began. The warrior lunged, claws slashing. Ethan ducked and rolled, the staff cracking against armored skin. Sparks flew. Pain shot through his arm. The alien beast slammed him into the stone floor, but the human refused to yield. His body screamed in pain, yet his spirit burned hotter, strike after strike, until finally, he rammed the staff into the beast's throat, forcing it to the ground. The hall fell silent, crimson eyes widened. No one had expected him to survive. The matriarch's gaze sharpened. The second sister stepped forward. "Strength you have shown, but can you resist what even warriors cannot?" she whispered. As she raised her hand, dark energy wrapped around Ethan's head. Invisible chains pressing into his mind, visions flooded his eyes. Fire, blood, the faces of his dead comrades, the screams of people he had failed to save. It tore into his soul, trying to break him. Ethan clenched his fists, his body trembling, but he refused to bow. He shouted against the storm inside his mind, "I am human. I will not break for you." And the psychic chains shattered like glass. Gasps echoed through the hall. Even the sisters stepped back. None had expected a mortal mind to resist their hunger. The third sister's turn came. Her test was cruel. She brought forth prisoners, alien slaves trembling in chains, her voice sweet like poison. "Prove yourself, human. Kill them. Show us your cruelty. Show us you are worthy of our bloodline." Ethan's hands shook. His heart pounded. The hall watched in silence. He raised the blade they had given him. But instead of striking the helpless, he turned and drove the blade into the stone at his feet. His voice rang through the hall. "I will fight monsters, but I will not become one." A deadly silence followed. The vampires hissed with fury. But the princess's eyes shone with something else, respect, perhaps even hope. The matriarch rose slowly, her gaze burning with a mixture of anger and fascination. "You defy us, you resist us, and still you live," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. "But the trials are not yet over, human. Next you will face the blood arena, and there, no defiance will save you." The sisters smiled again, their hunger rekindled. The princess whispered softly under her breath, words Ethan barely caught. "Survive. Please survive." Ethan stood in the center of the hall, bruised, bloodied, yet unbroken. He had faced their demands, but the worst was yet to come. And as the great doors opened to the dark path leading to the arena, Ethan knew one thing. His reckless bet had turned into a war for his very soul. The fierce mate trial, the gates of the blood arena opened with a sound like thunder, stone grinding against stone, and the air carried the smell of ash, iron, and old blood. Ethan stepped inside, his body bruised from the trials, but his spirit unbroken. Above him, black spires rose into the crimson sky, and thousands of alien eyes glowed from the stands. The Valorians filled the arena seats, their hisses echoing like a storm. The matriarch sat high upon her throne, her daughters beside her, their faces unreadable, except for the youngest, the princess, her hands clenched tightly. As if willing him to live, the matriarch's voice cut through the noise, cold and sharp. "Human, you survived the trials of my daughters, but this is the final test, the trial of the fierce mate. Survive the arena and you belong to us. Fail, and your blood feeds the stone." The gates at the opposite end creaked open, and a beast emerged, its roar shaking the ground. It was no ordinary creature. It was the arena guardian, a monster bred for centuries to test challengers. its body massive, armored with obsidian plates, fangs long as blades, its eyes burning red like molten fire. The crowd howled, hungry for death. Ethan gripped the spear they had given him, his hands slick with sweat. The weapon felt too small, too fragile, but he steadied himself. He was Terran, he was human, and humans had survived worse odds. The Guardian lunged, the ground trembling beneath its charge. Ethan rolled aside, dust exploding as claws ripped into stone. He struck with his spear, the point scraping across the beast's armor. Sparks flew, but no wound was made. The crowd laughed, voices rising. The human is weak. He will die like the rest. But Ethan refused to give them the satisfaction. He ran, dodged, used his speed where brute force failed. The monster roared, striking walls, tearing pillars down as Ethan lured it across the arena. Up on the throne, one sister leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. He's not fighting to win. He's fighting to outlast, the second hissed. No human can outlast the Guardian. His blood will spill soon, but the princess whispered, her lips trembling. Wait, he's watching it. He's learning it. Ethan's sharp eyes caught every movement, the way the Guardian's armor shifted when it turned, the gaps between its plates, the weak spots hidden beneath rage. The beast roared again and charged. This time Ethan did not run. He planted his feet, raised the spear, and at the last second he dove under its swing, driving the spear upward into the softer flesh beneath its jaw. The weapon pierced. The beast howled, blood spraying across the sand. The arena shook with cries, half fury, half awe. But the Guardian was not finished. It slammed Ethan to the ground with its massive tail. Pain shot through his ribs, his vision blurred. The spear snapped in half. The monster loomed over him, its fangs ready to strike. The matriarch's eyes gleamed, cold and merciless. It ends now, she whispered. But Ethan's hand closed around the broken half of the spear, his eyes burning with human fire. With a roar that shook even the Valorians, he drove the jagged spear straight into the beast's eye, pushing until the monster screamed and collapsed, shaking the arena floor. The silence that followed was deafening. Thousands of crimson eyes stared, stunned. The Guardian, the undefeatable creature of the arena, lay dead at the feet of a human. Ethan stood, bloodied, broken, but unyielding. He raised the broken spear high, his voice hoarse but steady. I am no prey. The crowd erupted, some in rage, some in disbelief, and some in awe. The sisters looked at each other, their hunger replaced by something else, respect, even desire. The princess's eyes glistened with something stronger, something almost human. The matriarch rose from her throne, her silver hair shining in the crimson light, her voice sharp as steel. Human, you have done what no alien has done. You killed the Guardian, you survived the trials by law. You belong to us, but then her voice lowered, colder. Yet know this, your victory has broken silence. The galaxy will not forgive this day, and war may follow your defiance. Ethan met her gaze, his chest heaving, his words simple. Then let the galaxy come. The crowd roared again, half in fury, half in admiration. The fate of one human now echoed like thunder across the stars. The humans claimed the arena was silent. The Guardian's body still twitched in the blood-soaked sand, its massive form lying defeated at the feet of a human. Ethan stood there, battered, broken, his chest heaving with every breath, his hand still gripping the broken spear stained with black ichor. Above him, thousands of glowing eyes stared in disbelief. The Valorians had never seen such a thing. No warrior, no alien, no challenger had ever slain the arena's monster. Yet a single Terran had done the impossible. The matriarch rose from her throne, her voice echoing across the arena like thunder. It is finished. The human has survived what none have. By our ancient law, he is fierce mate, and he belongs to the Valorian bloodline. The crowd hissed. Some cried out in rage, others in awe. The sisters stepped forward, their eyes no longer filled only with hunger, but with something else. Recognition. Ethan had earned their respect, even their desire. The princess, the one whose lips had sealed his fate, descended from the throne, her steps soft upon the bloodied sand. She stood before Ethan, her crimson eyes trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. You fought for me when you didn't have to, and now by law, by blood, you are ours. But Ethan's eyes, fierce and unyielding, lifted not to her, but to the matriarch. No, he said, his voice steady, strong. I belong to no one. I stand as human, and I choose my own fate. A shocked silence fell across the arena, the words of defiance crashing against the ancient laws like waves against stone. The sisters hissed, the crowd roared in fury. But the matriarch's gaze sharpened, not with anger, but with something more dangerous, interest. "You defy even our law," she whispered, her silver hair glowing in the crimson light. "You claim victory, yet deny the bond, human. Do you understand what you're doing?" Ethan raised the broken spear high, his blood dripping onto the sand. His voice rang out across the arena. "I came here as a fool with a bet, but I stand here as proof. Humanity is not prey, not weak, not yours to claim if you want me. You will have to face all of us." The stands erupted. Chaos shook the arena. The Valorians hissed and howled, their ancient pride challenged, their laws torn apart by a single Terran. The princess looked at him, her lips trembling between pride and sorrow. She whispered, "You don't understand. By defying us, you have declared war." The matriarch lifted her hand, and the chaos silenced at once. Her eyes glowed with cold fire, her voice low but sharp. "So be it, human. If you will not bow, then you will rise as something greater. But know this, your defiance will spread beyond this arena. The clans will not forgive, the empires will not forget. You have set fire to the stars." Ethan met her gaze, his body shaking but his voice steady. "Then let them burn." The matriarch smiled. "Slow and dangerous. Very well, Terran. The galaxy will remember this day, the day a human walked into the arena and came out not as prey, but as predator." The princess reached for his hand, her fingers trembling, her voice soft. "Whatever storm you have started, I will stand with you." The crowd roared again, the sisters watching with unreadable eyes, and somewhere in the distance, war drums began to echo. The kiss had started it. The arena had sealed it. But Ethan's defiance had unleashed something greater, a war that would shake the galaxy, and a legend that would carve humanity's name into the stars. And as the gates of the arena opened once more, the human walked out, battered, bloodied, but unbroken, the whispers of fear and awe chasing him. The reckless bet had become prophecy, and Ethan Sterling was no longer just a soldier. He was the storm,